There's still like 20 minutes before our next presenter in case it was easier for either the Kevins, myself, or anyone else who had questions. If they wanted to verbally respond to the questions, you could take this time to do so and unmute yourself if you want to.
Is Jeb on here right now?
He was earlier today. I'll have to check.
He's still in the list. I was gonna see if he wanted to test his screen share.
Right.
Yes, Jim is here. I just unmuted.
Do you want to try to test the screen sharing?
A very good idea, Eric, to test it, yes. I'll test it right now. Okay, go to screen share and clicked on it. Click on PowerPoint as you told all of us.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens.
It's loading. There we go.
There we are.
And then when it's actually time for the program presentation later, I have it like minimized. Do I want to put it back to the full screen then?
What do you have minimized?
Oh, the PowerPoint.
Well, so we're in your PowerPoint. We can see PowerPoint right now, but you haven't started slide view. So I see you're hovering over the minimize tab.
Slide view. Do I want to bring it back to the large? To
you mean
not minimize or will it show up? Well, if it does, I can adjust that
So
quickly.
if you click up on the upper left, you'll see the little PowerPoint slide, like the actual like
Oh, I
slide.
understand. Yes. All I was saying was so I could see the Zoom meeting screen. I reduced the size of the, of my own. But anyway, if I understand what's going on, and if it's too small, I can fix that with one click later. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because right now the way this,
all is well.
the,
All is well, Eric.
if you want to see a preview of what this looks like from the live stream's perspective, I can send you a link, or if you want to scroll
I
back.
don't think there's any need if you just. I understand what's going on for once, so all is well.
Okay, okay.
All is actually well on this end, I think. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
If you have a camera, I can put your face in like one of the corners. For the last couple of presentations.
Is there any real reason for that?
No, there isn't. You don't have to, but
I just thought folks might enjoy, not actually seeing my face for once.
Oh, don't beat yourself up. You have a lovely face.
Well, but anyway, but yeah, unless there is a reason for that, no need for that. But thank you,
Okay.
Eric. Okay, so you want me to? How does one get out of share screen?
I
Oh,
can stop it for you if you'd like.
Okay. I see it right here.
Sorry,
I
I
can
beat
do
you
it-
to it.
I finally, like others, too late saw the icon that said stop share.
No, it's okay.
Understood. Very good. Need anything else from me, or should I just come back about 5 till 1 then?
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Yep, we're good.
I'll begin, and thank you, Eric.
No problem.
Appreciate the drill.
No worries. I've gotten very good at becoming a miniature IT department over the last year. Ironically, my students, I use Discord to communicate with most of them, which is probably an app that most of us here don't use. But 40% of my students already have Discord, so of course it's like a plurality. Most of my students use Discord, but it still means 60% of them haven't used it or other messaging apps, so I still have to teach the other 60% how to use it. But there aren't many alternatives that I have had much success with.
So this probably means I'm really old, but I've never even heard of that.
Well, they really blew up this past year as people started doing Discord servers. I mean, basically think of it as a merger of Zoom, messaging apps, and I mean, you could almost argue it's not really like Facebook, but essentially you can create your own server, and you can even program in like specific code language, so you can have like bots run. You can have auto-moderated bots in there, so like none of my students can post vulgarity on any of the chat rooms that I create. I can create all of the chat rooms. Actually, if you're on the if you have the YouTube live stream pulled up, you can see my screen, and I can show you what Discord looks like from my perspective, and for anyone else who's watching on the live stream. Basically, you can have a bunch of different servers. You can have chat rooms where people can post messages to one another. You can see who's online, who's offline. You can send direct messages to people. You can have chat rooms that have. You literally don't have to schedule meetings. Like you could literally, if I wanted to right now, I could pop into this virtual office that says office, and now I'm in there, and you can see I'm muted and deafened, and basically if students, oh hang on, I don't think I have the right mic set up, but students could just hop in here like they would an open door in an open room. Like anyone could hop into this chat and start talking, and they could share their screen. They could share if they're using an application. You can pretty much share any attachment you want with the plus icon at the bottom of the chat room. So it's got a lot of bells and whistles, and it's been really beneficial, I think, for my classrooms. I've tried other things, but unfortunately the fallback for most students is just emailing me things, and I found this gives them a lot of flexibility. They don't need to try and call me. Like they can literally use this app on their phone. So I've met with students one-on-one, like in the car, and And then it's also great because you can be asynchronous. Like I can literally just have this open all day. And if someone wants to talk to me, I can just hop in and hop out instantly. I don't have to schedule a Zoom meeting or anything. But yeah, it's what I would say what most people under 25 have a Discord account right now. So that's what I use. And you can link other stuff in it as well. It's pretty fun.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Redmond here. Eric, can you see me?
Yes, I can now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a comment on your Rocky River study. Actually, I just wanted to know if you're familiar with Phil Wonyurka's work at Fort Hill.
I am.
Okay. That's just, that's about the most recent work that's been done at all in that valley.
He just did his like 400 plus page report or whatever. I remember I pestered him about it over the last 2 semesters. Like, hey, when that thing drops, I want to know.
Yeah. He just sent me a copy a little while ago. So
yeah. And as far as I know, like, because most of the data I collected back when I was an AmeriCorps intern in 2017, I think, I had a really lame free time. That I would just spend the evening scouring the OHPO Cultural Resource GIS. And that was back when they first started offering PDFs of all the OAIs. So I would literally just go through and I just type in, CU0001, CU0002. And then I ended up just downloading them all and just getting to like see where they all were. And that's how I started. And obviously this is not efficient because as I've learned from Kevin, you could just ask Brent and like have him do like a keyword search and send us all to you. But neither here nor there. I took the long route. And that's when I started noticing that none of these reported sites had any pottery reported. And so I started looking at like Greenman? Yeah, Emerson Greenman's like 1930s reports. And he doesn't talk about anything in the Rocky River. And then after looking at Phil's work at Fort Hill, he said he didn't find anything. And I was just like, well, that's bizarre. You would think there'd be at least some pottery. And I think there might be some stuff that is claimed to be prehistoric pottery at the Olmsted Falls Historical Society, but I haven't.
Right, that's what I was going to mention. They have some there. And then years ago when I was at the Interpretive Center there at Rocky River giving a talk, they brought out this cardboard box of artifacts that they'd had in storage. That this is stuff just given to them, I guess, over the years. They didn't know exactly. It was definitely from the valley. I suspect some of it was picked up by local residents. There were some sherds in there. I think there was even a couple shell-tempered sherds. So I'm sure there was pottery showing up in the valley. But the big thing, about that valley is there's no village sites. There's no recorded, more than just an ephemeral habitation or campsite type thing. And I think I read your comment there a few minutes ago in the chat about, you got all the ideas there that it's, the nature of the valley, it's small, probably low resource potential, et cetera. The fact that some of them may be just no real survey being done.
Yeah.
But I think if there were any kind of significant village sites, I think they would have been recorded. There are some landforms there, that they could have had hilltop they had not enclosures, but just villages. I think I think these hilltop enclosures like Phil's working on are early woodland. I don't think they're late pre-contact. They may have been occupied later, like some of these others out west, but I don't think those are late pre-contact era. I don't think there are. And I think, again, like others have said, that it could have been like a buffer zone between maybe the late pre-contact people.
Yeah.
Sandusky tradition versus the Whittlesey group to the east. And for maybe all those reasons, there wasn't a major occupation. Although it would be interesting to see some more work done, on a broader scale in that valley of what exists in collections and things like that.
If you want, I can send you a copy of the proposal that I've put together if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to take a look. Sure.
Yeah, it's
hey guys.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Al. Finding later occupations on these earthwork sites is not uncommon. So, it's not, it's just not uncommon. So that's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, most of them have multiple occupations,
right.
But the earliest usually documented ones are about early woodland age.
Right.
Yeah.
And they come out around 300 BC as a median date, which is really what we're finding at Heckelman and what I think Phil found least one date he has from Fort Hill.
Right.
So
I mean,
I
look at Fort Ancient, you know, big Hopewell site with some Fort Ancient stuff on it. And, you know, lots of people thought that's what it dated to for a while. So,
Right.
yeah, right.
Is Kevin Nolan available? Kevin,
Yeah, I'm here.
did you send a agenda for the business meeting out yet?
It's in there's a shared folder or accessible folder. I posted a link. I'll do it again. It's got
When did you
all
post
the
it?
reports that I've received and the agenda.
Was that in yesterday's?
No, I just posted it in the chat again.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll get it then from there. Thanks.
Kevin, did you get my report? I couldn't.
Yeah, I did, and I uploaded
upload
it to the. I put it in the folder too.
Okay, great. All right.
In the chat. There it is.
All right, it's 12:59, so I'm gonna go ahead and just get started with easing people back into our afternoon programming. Thanks everyone who asked questions during the lunch session. Feel free to email me with any comments, feedback you have about anything that's happening in this virtual meeting that you've liked, didn't like, things that you thought went well. The virtual posters was a new experiment that I thought we'd try. I'd be happy to bring it back for the fall in some way, shape, or form if anyone's interested and wants to submit posters in that format and they liked the way we did it. Glad to have feedback on that stuff. But yeah, thank you to all those who asked questions and had discussion over the lunch break. So welcome back to the afternoon sessions. We've got one presentation and our business meeting. The business meeting, to remind those who are not OAC members or who might be watching on the live stream on our YouTube channel. Unfortunately, the business meeting will only be available to members, so we'll be doing that on WebEx, not on Zoom. So you'll have to go through your email to double check that you have the WebEx invite to the business meeting, which we will start at 1:30. But before then, we will be hearing a presentation by Jeb Bowen titled Hopewellian, Chesser, and Jacks Reef Point Distributions in South Central Ohio. So without further ado, I turn it over to Jeb Bowen.
Thank you, Eric. Let me start the slideshow here, please, from beginning. And there we go. And yes, everyone, I have the clock at my side, and we will be done before the business meeting. Do not worry, everyone.
Jeb,
Anyway,
I'm not seeing anything yet on the screen share before you get rolling.
let me go back to. Let me end the show and go back to the screen share here. Okay. Yes. I did part 1, but not part 2. No, that's right. I pressed on your screen. There, we'll press on the PowerPoint screen, and yes, at the bottom it says share.
Aha,
And,
okay. We are seeing it in edit view.
Thank you for one more lesson.
No worries, no worries.
Now we try the slideshow from beginning.
Excellent. We're good to go.
Super. And there we excuse me. Anyway, starting again, please. Here we are, and let's start the slideshow here in the presentation. Thank you. And before we get into the specifics of the point types and artifact types we're talking about today, we'll be talking about the Pickaway County Historical Society's Clark May Museum Digital Archaeology database. And here we just have a view of what are now soybean fields on the former Pickaway Plains. You can see Mount Logan from the north, looking in the distance into Ross County. Anyway, moving right along here. Anyway, as we say, all of Pickaway County and portions of adjacent Franklin, Fairfield, and Ross counties will be included in our primary intensive research area, which we are actually treating as one large archaeological site with a specific activity areas rather than trying to subdivide it into clusters of sites necessarily. And this is the tradition, I can't say the word tradition, in the tradition of Donald and Dr. Dancy's siteless survey that many of us that went to Ohio State University in the 1970s were well versed in. Although I myself prefer the term comprehensive high resolution survey, because siteless almost sounded, at least at the time, somewhat glamorous and like we were avoiding things when the idea is, to highlight things and do a whole high resolution survey, not ignoring even the so-called isolated or low density finds. Moving right along, here is highlighted our primary research area. You can see from southern Franklin County, down to just the northern outskirts of Chillicothe, and then eastward to Amanda area in western Fairfield County. Okie doke, here we go. Anyway, we're blessed here in Pickaway County with having a very powerful and friendly folks at the county GIS, which of course means Geographic Information System, at the county GIS office. And we've been working along with them. Like many things in life, the pandemic put a damper on our working with them, but now that the pandemic is abating, we'll be working more closely with the folks just a couple doors down from the museum at our county GIS office. Here's a nice Pickaway County map that shows some of their work, and moving right along. Okay, and again, we realize a regional understanding is necessary, and artifacts from all of South Central Ohio are also actively sought out for inclusion into the database and in our studies. Again, if we're treating the primary area like one site, just like when you look at an archaeological site, one has to have it in context in the surrounding region, and we're doing that same thing by paying, a lot of attention and gathering data from all of South Central Ohio. Okay. Anyway, for each artifact, and again, I should mention we include any prehistoric artifact that has any useful provenience data, and if possible, for every artifact, we get a high-resolution photographic image, including both faces, side view and end view. Unlike Kevin, Eric, and Mike and the COADs, we don't have 3D scanners, but we get by the best we can. And then we just take the motion by the UTM coordinates to facilitate the GIS analysis here. And there we go. Anyway, data sources, we want to acknowledge Ohio Archaeological Inventory, published articles and books, unpublished reports and research notes, other databases, including COADs, of course, Eric, Kevin, Mike's and others, COADs, or the Central Ohio Archaeological Digital Survey, and the PIDBA, or the Paleo-Indian Database of the Americas. Here I want to pause for a second to make what I consider to be a very important point. That being, in no ways should anyone ever get the idea that the different databases are any way competitive. They're most certainly complementary to each other. And again, this is all among friends, so all of us that have the various databases freely and happily, share with each other and with others. Also, I want to emphasize that just like in mechanical systems, in databases, redundancy is important. So if something would happen to one, it's good to have things, artifacts, data in multiple databases. So again, the more databases that any specific piece of data or artifact is included in, the better. And then institutional artifact collections, dedicated artifact collectors, farming family artifact collections, and also, of course, canvassing the general public for information, what they found or know about. Okay, moving right along here. However, here's some, and again, we've divided the primary area, again, following Dr. Dancy's example and what I did for a work study for him back in the 1970s. Divided the whole area into about a quarter a kilometer tracts. But anyway, trying to build in the biases, allow for them in the GIS system. And anyway, number one, the frequency of sampling. In other words, how many times an area has been examined, a tract has been examined, duration, how long a tract has been examined, representativeness, there's a hard word, what classes of remains being collected. In other words, some folks collected the so-called arrowheads and bifaces. Other folks collect every last flint chip. What has to allow for that? Completeness. A lot of places, we know that some samples have been collected and are now totally dispersed and permanently lost. And many of these variables will often remain unknown for any particular tract. Anyway, I can't help but include this slide quickly. This is a hypothetical story, but in a way it's very true, because it shows that typically the maybe the history of one property. I mean, a lot of times someone will tell me something like, here, I'll quickly read this. Property owner might tell me, we have a lot of artifacts from our 160-acre farm for you to look at. We let a couple of collectors from town come out and look, and we will introduce you to them. But my parents let anybody come out and look, so a lot has been carried off by strangers to us, or people we don't know. Maybe you can find some of them and look at their stuff, but we don't know who they are. I do remember my grandparents telling me that they sold some of the family farm collection to a traveling lightning rod salesman. Before our family purchased the property in the 1920s, it was owned by the Digby's. I suppose they probably picked up arrowheads too, but they moved to Los Angeles during the Depression, and they want to make the point somehow, don't know how, but somehow such variables must be quantified and consistently presented in databases. Okay, and yes, we'll get to some artifact pictures soon. But I do want to mention some of my own mistakes that also bias the database. Sometimes I recorded only certain classes of artifacts. For example, early archaic points, grooved axes, etc., from collections that are now dispersed. In fact, I did some damage in north central Ohio 30, 40 years ago, unintentionally. I did an early archaic point survey and filled out a bunch of Ohio archaeological inventory forms that only mention the early archaic points because those are the ones that I looked at. But not knowing this, some other researchers came along years later, looked at those forms, and got to the conclusion that there was a humongous concentration of early archaic materials in that area, to the exclusion of a lot of other things. But again, it was my reporting bias. Hopefully, I haven't done that for years, but still I did damage. At other times, I made no images, but just verbal descriptions such as 3 Thebes points, 2 grooved axes, so and so and so and so, of collections that are now dispersed. And I recorded nothing regarding the specific varieties like 3/4 grooved axe versus full grooved axe, whatever, or the real materials. And somehow these biases, need to be quantified somehow. I'm not quite sure how. Maybe in conversations in the months to come with many of you, hopefully you can give us some good ideas and enlighten me. Anyway, we're getting close to artifact pictures, yes. How can these variables be included into GIS-based databases, digital type maps, and hard copy maps, such as used in displays at museums, like the one we're sitting at now? It is somewhat manageable at the local level, for example, a township, but becomes horribly complex at the regional, like several county level, especially in exhibit graphics, yes. Anyway, okay, finally we're getting to the artifacts. Artifacts in this presentation, we're talking about Hopewell bladelets, somewhere around 1600 to 1900 years old. Hopewell points, about 1600 to 1900 years old. Chesser points, about 1300 to 1600 years. And finally, Jack Spreef, 1100 to 1300 years old. For future discussions, I still have a question that maybe some of you can answer, not today, but when some of us are seeing each other in other settings in the future. I realize that Jack's Reef, for which the points were named, is like a good fishing riffle, and I think perhaps it was the Genesee River of New York. I've even looked at their towns' histories. No one seems to know who the Jack for which the reef was named, who he was. I would love to find out someday, because poor Jack, we all say his name so much, but no one seems to know who he was or anything about his life. Anyway, here we go. Okay, finally, the artifacts. Okay, here's a nice Hopewellian prismatic bladelet core. And this one happens to be from the bottoms between Hopeton and Mound City in northern Ross County. Of course, it's the core from which the prismatic bladelets were struck. And here is the might want to call it a macro scale, whatever. In other words, just a hard copy of the Beer map of South Central Ohio, and one can see a nice kind of cluster of the production sites with many cores, and also one can see the distribution of the bladelets. I mean, all of us can look at these maps for a long time and make a lot of observations, but here it is. I won't belabor the point now. However, once we get to the Hopewell points, such as we see here, this one is also from the South River bottom between between Mound City and Hopeton in northern Ross County. But here you can see the actual Hopewell point distribution is somewhat different. As Brett Ruby mentioned me the other day, what happened to all the reported Hopewell points south of Ross County along the Saddle River? They're very uncommon there. If that's something about taphonomy or just poor sampling, I don't really know at this point, but really in the near term want to really focus on getting more artifact samples from along the Scioto between in Pike and I should use the pointer here, between Pike and Saddle counties. Okay, then moving right along, however. Okay, here, bless our friend Jared. Don't even have this map really well labeled yet because it's only in process, but here's a section of a real nice LiDAR-based colorized map of Pickaway County. This is a detail from it that Jared made for us here at the Pickaway County Historical Society. And just a gorgeous map. And the nice thing about it is one can keep zooming closer, and Jared provided such resolution into it, you can do a couple square miles and the detail remains. So it's very useful at many different magnifications. Here we just have basically the area around Circleville. Come on, Jeb. Snake Den is right here at the cursor. Here's Walnut Creek, Big Darby, Deer Creek that Jared was talking about a little bit earlier, right here. Here's Circle Earthworks. Anyway, again, it's not finished and it needs labeling, but the large dots are major clusters of Hopewellian artifacts. Small dots, smaller clusters of Hopewellian artifacts. And the single dots are single Hopewellian artifacts. And the star here is the Circle Earthworks. And I should mention too, where Deanne Wyman and Paul Pacheco have been working for so many years. Don Balthazer's domestic and bladelet production site in northeastern Pickaway County is right here. But bless Jared for providing this wonderful base map that's useful at so many different magnifications. Okay, but here moving along, we come to after the Hopewellian period, the bladelets, prismatic bladelets, no longer being produced about 1,500 years ago, and also the large earthworks, the complex earthworks aren't being built anymore. The so-called Cheshire points, named after Cheshire Cave in southwestern Athens County. But here we go, a very different distribution. We have a real nice cluster along Big Darby, the Saddle River, but again, down to this, only the southern Ross County line, and here going down toward Jackson at toward the salt works. But unlike the Oak Plain artifacts, I mean, for heaven, look here at the Paint Valley. Really want to concentrate on this problem, but there's not one reported. Something to very, carefully investigate, and may well be sampling bias, but we just have to study this more, the way they seem to cut off about here. And I bet most of us realize that this big cluster, southwestern Athens County, is indeed Chester Cave. I had thought there'd be a lot more Chester points in the unglaciated plateau of south central Ohio, but they don't seem to be actually a major point type here, as I had thought. Although I do want to mention almost all the samples I'm aware of from the unglaciated plateau, a few are rock shoulders, but most are surface sites. If with better data from rock shoulders, maybe that will change. We will see. Anyway, lastly, we have our friend again, whoever Jack is. We have the Jack's Reef points. This is a gorgeous classic Jack's Reef point. The Mark he just found it when the photograph was taken. Still has the dirt on it. Anyway, it's from just south of Jackson in Jackson County. And about 1,300 years old. And here's the Jack's Reef Point distribution. Not that different from Chester points, really. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we have like 1, 2, 3 from the Paint Valley. That's it. Again, the tail going down a little Salt Creek toward Jackson from southern Ross County. But again, not that many south of the Soda River, but some more. But again, in the I'm not sure what made this nice valley and geological, low, nice flat area here, southwest of Jackson, between Athens and MacArthur. I know our friends from OU could tell us if we had a live audience. Immediately the origin of this, gorgeous, valley away from the rivers. But anyway, it seems to be a concentration of the Jack's Reef around here from multiple contexts, and also kind of interesting, at least for now, up around Lancaster, right before the Upper Hocking goes in to the elevation plateau, lots of Jack's Reef, but actively searching from along the Hocking, but none reported yet. And again, I see we're 5 minutes till the business meeting, and again, we can all discuss, this later amongst ourselves. So there's no need to belabor the point of going over every little less detail of these maps right now. Anyway, here we have a nice view of the Pickaway County Historical Society's Mount Oval Farm, and right about where the cursor is along the Saddle River in the background is Jared's Jones Earthworks. And of course, Jared also did extensive work over this field that we're looking at right now in front of us. Anyway, thank you for being patient with me. Again, anyone that wants any information from, I don't mean just this short program, but, the whole database, just let me know, and we'll provide anyone with what they want. Thanks to everyone, and let me, I'm looking for the stop share. Time for the business meeting. Stop share. Have I successfully done it? It looks like so.
Yes, you have successfully ended sharing your screen. Thank you so much, Jeb, for that presentation.
mute myself and get ready for the business meeting.
Well, we have a few minutes here, Jeb, at least according to my my clock, and I see a question from Kevin Nolan about the JR cluster by Lancaster. Is that due to the 33 bypass surveys? Is his question?
It is not. It is not. There were a couple found, of course, by Sean Skinner and others on the bypass survey, but most of those are from various field finds by property owners, collectors, and so no, that is not a function of, to use a terrible pun, it is not an artifact of that survey.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
interesting.
It is not an artifact of that survey.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jeb since we have a few minutes here? Hearing none, then
I would like to.
oh.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Sure.
I would just like to encourage everybody who presented today to send your presentations, if you're willing to share, to Brian Redmond to post in the current research section of our website, because these are all really good sources of information, really good presentations, and useful resources for others to use for research and for outreach programming.
I concur. I endorse that suggestion. Yeah, so thank you to all of our presenters today for presenting and offering up your time today. And certainly in this busy time of year, it seems like we're all very busy despite a global pandemic. So I very much appreciate you taking your time out of your day to present your research and findings and whatnot this today. So that's going to do it for our presentations. For those I think a few people just joined at the last minute here. And for those who are watching the YouTube live stream, unfortunately, this is where we are going to have to end things for the public segment of the business or the membership meeting, and we're going to transition now to the WebEx meeting that will be for members only, and it will be the OIC business meeting. So I kindly ask that we transition now over to WebEx to do the business meeting. That's going to conclude it for today's presentation. So thank you everyone and members of the public who are watching for tuning in. You're welcome to watch any of this over again on the YouTube channel. It's all archived there. So we'll see you over in WebEx. Thanks again.